Forward. Okay. Is that
That's
better?
good. Yep.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Eric Greenstein. This is our virtual roundtable here at the SoFlo Real Estate Investors. Obviously, we can't obviously meet up for certain situations that are going on in the United States and actually around the world. I hope everyone is safe, and I hope everyone is smart about what they're doing, and we'll all get through this together as a whole big world, right? So I just want to go ahead and talk about what we'll be talking about today is refinancing. That would be the topic. We do have Judy Smith here today. She is from Recommerce Home Mortgage. She will be talking about refinancing. I do have a few questions for her. Before I get into that, I want to go ahead and see if everyone could just go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience. And so Judy.
Hi, I'm Judy Smith, and I am a loan originator with Commerce Home Mortgage.
Rick?
Yes, my name is Rick. I'm an inspiring new investor, hopefully getting into long-term multifamily investing.
Right, and Carolina is new. Could you just introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Carolina Mendez. I'm a real estate agent with Coldwell Banker in South Florida, specifically Broward and Miami.
Perfect. All right. So let's go ahead and get into refinancing. Now, Judy, I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
When you purchase a house, is there any wait time where you can refinance after you purchase? Is there like a gray area of when you can refinance and then purchase a place and refinance, or you have to wait a certain amount of time?
Well, it's a great question because it actually depends on the type of mortgage you have. So government loans like FHA or VA loans, when somebody wants to refinance, FHA and VA require that you have to have made at least 6 months payments before you can refinance. And before you can do a cash out refinance, it has to be over 12 months. So now Fannie and Freddie, which are the conventional loan, they don't care, right? Well, on a rate and term. So you could close and a month later you can do a rate and term refinance. However, on a cash out refinance, you have to own the property for 6 months. So there's a difference depending on the loan amount. And the other thing to keep in mind too is for the first 6 months, you have to go off the appraised value or the purchase price, whichever's less. So let's say you want to refinance in 6 months on a property using conventional loan, but let's say it appraises, the appraisal comes in way higher than you paid for the property. Well, the appraised value has to be used for the first 6 months. After that, you can go off of the actual appraised value.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Now that
sure.
was that was definitely one of the questions that I think a lot of our viewers might have as well. It's just it's a good
yeah. And the other thing to keep in mind too, I'm sorry, but on FHA and VA, you have to, before you can refinance, not only do you have to make 6 months payment, but you have to wait at least 210 days from the date that you closed. So government loans have higher restrictions than conventional loans.
Judy, can I ask a question in regards to that?
Of course.
Because my ultimate goal is, I'm planning to use, I'm sure if anybody's heard the term, the BRRRR method, which is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat the process. So that's going to be my strategy that I'm hoping to use in the long term. Now, do you see where maybe smaller community banks or credit unions, I guess that seasoning term of 6 months, do you see that? Have you ever seen them where they don't wait 6 months, that you're able to do it faster, or is it usually the time frame?
That would have to be, okay, you have to remember, so there's agency loans. You have Fannie, you have Freddie, you have FHA, and you have VA. There's no circumventing the guidelines on those type of loans.
Okay.
So it's possible to do that, but would have to be what we call a portfolio loan. So
Gotcha.
something that falls outside the guidelines could be a portfolio loan, and a portfolio loan can have different requirements or guidelines regarding anything.
Okay.
It just falls outside of the agencies.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you for answering that. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great question. Great question, Rick. So second question. I only have three today because I kind of want to keep this nice and short, and then we can get into our Q&A sessions with our audience here. When should you refinance?
Well, I'm doing tons of them right now.
Yeah.
There's a few different reasons, but the main reason most people refinance is because they want to lower their payment. And there's actually a calculation that I do with clients, because for me, it's not just about doing the refinance. I want to make sure the refinance makes sense. And some people are very savvy and they know this. And some people are like, oh, my payment's going down $100, then definitely let's do it. But what I try to explain, a very important part of that is you're always going to have closing costs. And especially in Florida. Florida has doc stamps and tangible tax. Closing costs are higher in Florida than they are in a lot of other states. So you have to make sure it makes sense. So one way to, again, there's different reasons. Some people want to do debt consolidation and it makes sense. Some people want to use that money to get it out to purchase another property that would make sense. But if you're looking simply for, does it make sense for me to take this mortgage and refinance it with today's rates based on what my current rate is? Couple of things you're going to look at is, number one, what is the difference in my interest rate and how does that translate into a difference in my payment? Number two is that difference in my payment, what are my closing costs? And if my closing cost, typical closing costs, and closing costs vary slightly by loan amount, but overall, a lot of the fees are the same. There's only certain things that change when it comes to loan amount, the doc stamps and the intangible tax and the title insurance. So, and those aren't big differences. So somebody can come to me and want to refinance $200,000, and let's say their closing costs are $5,600. Somebody can come to me and want to refinance, $450,000, and their closing costs might be $6,300. So it's not a huge difference between the two. So that's why it's important that you have to do a calculation to see how much am I saving monthly and how much is it going to take me to recoup that savings. So, and I've been doing this for the last 3 weeks, every day, all day. So we look at the payment. What is it going to be? How much is it saving me? It's saving me $250. Your closing costs are $6,500. Are you, oh my gosh, sorry guys. Am I going to be in my house longer than 3 years? And if they say, no, I'm not going to be in my house longer than 3 years, then I tell them, then don't do it, because you're never going to recoup that savings. So that's the first part and the first calculation that goes into play when I'm doing analysis to see if it's worth it for them to refinance. Sometimes it's worth it because they're paying off a second mortgage or a HELOC that's an adjustable rate mortgage. Sometimes it's worth it because not only are they lowering their interest rate, lowering their payment, but they're eliminating PMI insurance. And sometimes it's just that, they're going to pay off debts. They just want the cash out to do home improvements. So there's different reasons, but you have to make sure you talk to somebody that really is looking at it from a perspective of long-term financially. Does this make sense for us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and obviously, as we know right now, interest rates are the all-time lowest, right? I think
they're very low.
I think
yes.
a 30-year fixed is about 3.77, and a 30-year fixed refinance is a 3.87, which I feel like that's pretty low, especially since last week that went up. I mean, yeah, that went down from 4.0 to 3.87. So.
And it really depends on the loan amount, because I'm doing my VA and FHA are in the twos right now.
Mm-hmm. I have a question.
Conventional. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Judy, it's Rick here. I had a question for you. So when you're referring to closing costs, do you have any advice for a inspiring investor when they're running the numbers and looking at a property where they could kind of say, hey, I know you said that it varies based upon purchase price and so forth, but is there maybe like a rule where you could say, hey, maybe 6% of your purchase price will go towards closing? Is there any
That's
general?
that's tough.
Okay.
It depends. Well, let me tell you why. Every county is different. So Broward and Dade County, the buyer's responsible for the title insurance. So, and the title insurance is a promulgated rate in the state of Florida. So that can add, depending on the purchase price, that can add a couple $1,000s to your closing costs. So Dade and Broward, and again, the reason it's hard is because you have a $200,000 loan amount, your closing cost, and remember, you have closing costs and you have prepaid. So if you're talking about the total cost for closing, it's different than the closing cost.
And
So what's the difference?
no, just to clarify, when you mean those holding costs, are you referring to like taxes and insurance were prepaid?
That is correct. You're prepaid.
Okay, just want to clarify.
And those are going to vary greatly depending on how much the taxes are on the property when you purchase it and how much the insurance is going to be. As you know, property, that could be a huge difference.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And now the closing cost, I'm going to say, maybe like 1 3/4% on a higher loan amount. And let me think a second. So I just did a refinance for somebody. Their $450,000 loan amount, and their closing costs are $6,800. Now, again, on a purchase, it's probably going to be closer to 1.75 to 2% because the title insurance is much greater on a purchase than it is on a refi.
Gotcha. Okay.
So now on a lower loan amount, if you did like a 250,000, it might be like 2.25%.
Okay.
So I would say 2.25.
Gotcha.
Is a good range.
Okay. Thank you for answering that.
Sure, of course.
Judy could pull out numbers like super quickly.
Oh, but I'm blonde as could be when it comes to everything else.
That's definitely a gift because I remember we were going over this like last month, and I was on the phone with you for like 30 minutes, and I just gave you like the price of the house, and we basically like obviously it's an estimate, but you pretty much like this is what the monthly payments with everything, So
Yeah.
I just think
I do this little calculation in my head. I can kind of figure it out. Yeah, for sure.
They should make a Judy a Judy mortgage.
Oh, that's great. I love it. So every situation is different. And like I said, getting back to the question, it really depends on your situation. We have to look to see, does it benefit you? Because sometimes I'll actually start telling people, based on the situation, I think you're better off, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, well, I was hoping to get some cash out to be able to do home improvements, or I owe the IRS money. So then, you know what, maybe that makes sense. And sometimes I'll say, why don't you just do a home equity line of credit? Then you won't have all those closing costs.
Sure.
If they just need 10, 15,000, just do a HELOC if you have the equity in your home to do that. So every situation is a little bit different.
Gotcha.
That's smart. And I'm glad you said cash out refi like a few sentences ago, because that's actually one of the next questions.
Okay.
Could you just go over what the difference is between a regular refinance and a cash out refi?
I can. So a regular refinance is one of two things. It's actually three things now that I think about it. You cannot have a mortgage at all on your property. I'm sorry. You can have a mortgage on your property and you're going to just refinance the mortgage. That's obviously a rate and term refi. You could also have a first mortgage and a second mortgage on your house. And if that second mortgage was taken out at the same time that you purchased the home, so we can do piggyback loans. So let's say somebody's buying a house and they're going to do 90% financing, but they said, I'm going to sell my house after I close on this house, and I don't want to have that huge mortgage. So they'll say, well, let's do a first mortgage for the amount you want to have. We'll do a second mortgage for the amount you want to pay off. So, but let's say they didn't sell their house and now they have to refinance. Because they got the second mortgage or the HELOC at the same time that they did the first and purchase, that would all be considered a rate and term refi. Now, a cash out would be when you're refinancing and you are getting cash out of your house. And the cash out has to exceed 2,000 of the loan amount. So let's say you have a $200,000 loan, you're doing a refinance and you're getting, when we do the final calculations, you end up with $2,000 or 1% of the loan amount. That is a rate and term. So as long as the cash out doesn't exceed 2,000 or 1% of the loan amount, whichever is less, that is considered a rate and term. Anything over that is considered cash out.
And
so you could get a $200,000 loan and you could refinance that $200,000 loan. You can finance all the closing costs into it. You can finance the prepaids into it. And you could still walk away with $2,000 and it's considered a rate and term.
Got it. Rick, I believe you actually had a few questions, or you were going through kind of like the same situation, right?
Yeah, I'm actually looking to cash out refi my current residence right now. I bought the home back in 2014. Based upon the comps that I've looked at, and I've actually had a real estate agent come run some comps for me, because we initially thought we were going to sell the home, because my ultimate goal is to take the funds from the home and use it towards my investing journey up in Massachusetts when I do move.
Right.
That was my goal. We thought about selling it, but we decided that we're going to keep the home and refinance the home and cash out. So based upon the comps that I've looked at and my realtor that I was using at the time gave me, I have a little bit well over $100,000 worth of equity inside the home right now. So I'm actually going through the process right now, and I was explaining to Eric. I've learned some things along the way, where credit is important, and then also having permits on your home when you worked on it. So that's kind of like where I am right now.
What do you mean? What do you mean about the permits?
The
Well,
open permit?
Well, what occurred was back in 2016 is we decided to I guess make a studio in the home, and my parents currently live there right now. Like I said, I was house hacking and charging for the studio, and through my research and so forth and speaking with other lenders, they explained to me once it goes to appraisal, since there's a studio in the home, and it's not a part of the original, I guess, floor plan and how the home is supposed to be, that I would have a problem refinancing.
Now, when you say you added a studio, was it an existing structure that you turned, like a garage that you turned into a studio, or did you add a whole structure?
No, good question. It is actually my master bedroom with the bathroom. So what we did is we closed out the wall for the master bedroom and the bathroom, and we added an exterior door to that location. So
okay, so you
there's
can't
no
access
to
that
it.
from the main area.
Yeah, there's no access to them from the main home to it. So
Right.
I've been told that once it goes to appraisal, that's going to be an issue. That's going to pop up.
Well, I think the only issue you would
Open
have
a
is
door.
they're not going to call it. Yeah, they're not going to give you credit for that being under air.
Yeah.
It's almost like having like a cabana bath or something.
Yeah, and I think with running the comps, for me to be able to get the maximum amount that I'm looking for, I would need to make sure the home is appraised as a 3-2. So we're actually going through the process of opening it up, the room right now, hopefully within the next week or two, to conform it back to a 3-2.
Okay,
in the
good.
process. So yeah, and that's something that I'm learning. So yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and if you were ever to sell that and somebody wanted to do VA or FHA financing, do you have like a kitchen in there?
We did have a little kitchenette in there. We're thinking about having it removed, and then having it removed right now. So right now, I guess my main thing is getting access to the room and opening it up, and going from there. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now. And then I'm actually working on my credit still. So
okay,
that's kind of the journey that I'm on right now.
okay.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, with that extra room, yeah. I mean, if you remove the wall, then it would just be obviously like an additional room and bathroom, right?
Yeah, it was the master. It was a master bedroom with the master bathroom. So
Yeah.
You just have to open it up to the main area. There has to be
yes,
a door. You can even do a barn door.
yeah, and it's fairly easy because, like I mentioned, we close it off, so we're able to open it back up. So that's my main thing, is trying to go ahead and open that back up. Now, in regards to loan to value, I'm hoping to get at about 80%. Do you think that's something that's still doable right now, Judy?
Oh yeah, for sure. You
Okay.
can go up to 80% cash out refinance. And then if you were doing a rate and term, you could go all the way up to, 97% or 95%.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not trying to over leverage the home because, like I mentioned,
No, yeah, right.
I'm hoping to eventually, within the next year or two, turn it into a rental. So I want to make sure when I run my numbers that my mortgage payment with my taxes. I even called my local tax, Broward County Tax, and I asked them, hey, once I take the home exemption off the property, what are my taxes going to be looking like? So she kind of gave me an idea, so I can make sure when I run my numbers when I do rent it out, I'm cash flowing, or at least able to cover all my expenses when the home
Right.
is rented out down here in Florida. So
But the other thing is your insurance usually goes down too.
really, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Is
It's a
there a reason
different
why it
type
goes
of
up?
policy. It's a DP3 policy. It's a
Okay.
landlord, and so that is typically less expensive than the HO3, which is what
Gotcha.
you have as a homeowner.
Well, that's good to know because that'll help me out because my taxes, of course, are going to go up because there's no homestead. So,
Right.
I guess that'll help me out a little bit. So that's good to know. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Right. So yeah, those are actually all the questions I have for you, Judy.
Okay.
I just want to open it up to the floor. Carolina, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to answer at this time. So, do you have any questions today?
Well, when I thought about coming to the meeting, I thought about learning more about the other part of the story, because I sell properties and then I have the sellers and I have the buyers. I'm mostly listing agent, but I have many buyers because they contact me to buy one house and they doesn't like it and they want another one. I end up fixing and telling them and getting them in contact with people to solve their questions and problems. And luckily, we have been finding solutions. So that's one of the things that I'm very much interested about that, because I'm always connecting people. I have more than 74,000 connections. I used to work in the foreign service for a State Department. So, and I have my shows on Instagram, on Facebook, everywhere.
Cool.
So I know many, many people. So at the same time, I own a property. I bought it on a short sale for very little amount over 2 years ago on a hard money loan. Just paying it over right now. So when I do that, then I'm going to go into investing, because I don't have anything for my future except for my current income on sales. So that's why I'm very much interested. On the other hand, I have a friend whose family, they own multifamily in South Carolina, and the property was the cap ratio was like 1% last year, and they were very worried because they were not seeing any reasonable, decent profit from it. So I just advised them, because I'm not licensed in the area, but I didn't need to. I only saw their numbers part, and the scoreboard, and I raised it up in 6 months to 7.5%.
Wow.
And right now, because they did painting of the outside before actually the schedule that I had set for them, it didn't end the year at the number I wanted it to be, but it was a great exercise. And so that really, I already had the motivation to get multifamily, because I've sold multifamily, I've sold shopping centers too.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that I'm very much inclined about that, and having income for my future.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, multifamilies. That's what I'm trying to get into right now. I'm actually trying to sell a house in Cape Coral right now, so I can actually have some cash to go ahead and buy a duplex. Or
Is it located?
Cape Coral, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's on like the west coast of Florida, so it's like where Fort Myers is. Yeah, it's on the water. It's a great piece of property.
Okay.
Definitely love it over there. Yeah. So I mean, multifamily is the way to go. That's what I'm trying to do right now. And once I find that duplex, my goal is to find two ones, or 1-2-1, or 1-2-2, and 1-1. To at least rent out one side completely, and then live in the bigger side and have like another roommate, kind of like a house hack, to have like an additional income coming in. So that's my plan. That's what I plan on doing this year. Hopefully, you know, hopefully the world gets a little bit better. This virus kind of goes away. But that's definitely what I'm trying to do. I think multifamily is definitely the way to build wealth.
I have a question. Because you are planning to live in the property, you already may have seen the area where you like it to be, more or less. It's not like only investment property that people sometimes they don't even know the area where it is located. They only think about having it rented and getting the money from it.
Yeah. So I mean, what was your question? I'm sorry.
That because you said you're going to live in one of the.
Yeah.
You may have already seen. I mean, delimited the area where you like it to be.
Oh, have I seen? Yeah. I mean, so obviously you want an area where you can actually get someone in there if it's not vacant already. I'm trying to buy something, and thanks to Judy, actually, because she gave me this advice. I'm trying to buy something that has already contracts on it, because it'll actually help you get a mortgage loan, right? Because if you show them that you
One
have,
unit.
yeah.
One unit.
On one unit, correct.
So what you have to do is
cash
you have to be careful, because if you're going to be living in it and you're getting a mortgage, you have to be able to show that one of the units is either month to month, or the owner currently lives in it, or you have to have proof that the current owner has given the tenant notification that they have to vacate within 60 days. So you have to be careful when you're buying multi-unit, because one of those units, we have to be able to prove as a lender that you are going to be able to live in it. So when the appraiser goes out to do the appraisal, he's going to note on the appraisal if it's currently tenant occupied or owner occupied. So if you're going to buy a duplex and both units are currently tenant occupied, and you're saying to the lender, I'm going to live in one of those units, and we're doing that loan as an owner occupied loan, then we're going to require proof that the tenant has been notified that they have to vacate within 60 days.
Or
at
that
least
the
one of
owner
the
is going
tenants.
to move out.
Yeah.
Or if the owner lives in it, then if he's selling it, obviously, then it's assumed at that point that the owner is moving out.
Okay.
Nothing's required.
Also, it is important that if there is a tenant, to have it with an annual lease, better than a month to month. So it gives you better impression. So when you are applying for the mortgage, that's what I've seen before, especially when I'm selling the shopping centers. The longer the lease, the better. So here you can have a 1-year lease commitment. I mean, already under contract, so that you can.
Well, from a financing perspective, I think you're right when it comes to the commercial part. Yeah. When it comes to the residential part, we don't care. The appraiser is going to put on the appraisal how much the unit's renting for, and then he's also going to show market rent. Whichever's less, 75% of that is used. But there's nothing that says we have to get proof that the tenant is going to be there for another year or 6 months. It doesn't even matter, because that's why he puts the market rent and the current leased rent. And 75% of the lesser is used, because even if they moved out, you could re-rent it.
Yeah, but
on commercial, you're right. It's different for commercial, because that's all cash flow driven.
But because also from the investment point of view, it's better to have a tenant that's already committed to be for a longer term than having you moved in, then the tenant next door goes away, and you have the property
depending on how much they're paying,
money, and then you cannot pay your mortgage. So
depending on how much they're paying, because I've had situations where they're paying way less than market, and the landlord's like, I want them to leave, I could re-rent it way more than this.
Yeah. And that actually goes to your question, Carolina. Like what areas, I'm actually looking in like Fort Lauderdale, where I know that I've looked on a website called Rentometer, and it gives you like an average if you put like the address in there, and you get like say like a 1-1 in Fort Lauderdale near downtown is like $1,500, right? It'll give you like an average of like a 0.5 mile radius. And again, that's called rentometer.com. It's an awesome website if you don't know.
Oh yeah, I never heard of that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, and it's actually free until I guess you just keep using it and using it and using it. If you want more like data, then you can actually pay for like the subscription and stuff. I don't do that, but yeah, it's a really cool area or a cool website to look for your rents, But so like I'm looking in Fort Lauderdale, near like the outside of Victoria Park area, a little bit more west. There's a lot of gentrification going on there, and there's a lot of multifamily units.
Yes.
So I highly suggest that area. Dania Beach, and then Hollywood are the other two areas that I'm really interested in looking at, because Hollywood, there's a lot of multifamily units, and there's like certain little areas where like it's just gonna explode, and there's certain areas where that it has a little bit more time, but you can just see the growth there.
And just to piggyback off that a little bit, Eric, I actually live in Hollywood right now, and I think that was one of the deciding factors why we're deciding to keep the home, because of the growth that's going on here. I'm literally maybe less than half a mile away from downtown Hollywood, from the Circle, where the construction is booming, and I've been reading up on our local government, and they're trying to bring in young companies and so forth into the city. And then with the Hard Rock down the road, I'm hoping that the properties continue to appreciate as time goes on. Hopefully after this what's going on now. So I think that's one of my big and deciding factors here, to stay in Hollywood. So I agree with you. Hollywood I think it's going to be a good market, hopefully, and it will grow. So just to piggyback off that.
Yeah, that's a very good area for investments.
Yeah.
Right now I have land for sale in
Okay.
Ocala. It's for houses there. They sell like around $350,000-$400,000, large houses, 3-4 bedrooms with a pool.
Okay.
And the lot is for $15,000. And then I have 14 lots in Sebring, in a Gulf community. I have sold properties in Port St. Lucie and Tampa, different areas. My team is called All Florida Team.
Okay.
I'm starting to develop that, but I have associates working with me in many of the cities. But I myself I've sold alone from Ocala to Port St. Lucie, to Florida City and Homestead.
So what do you think about the well, we all like to call it like the NASA area, but Daytona area, right? Is that Daytona? Yeah, right? Yeah, like all the way up north, kind of near like Cape Canaveral.
Cape Canaveral.
Yeah.
Cape Canaveral, right? The Cape Canaveral area, that way by the
station. Have you heard of anything up there? Because I know of a few people, especially one of my buddies I drink wine with all the time. He's actually investing in commercial property up there. He's doing like buildings basically. I think he actually said shopping centers, just land right now. But yeah, he loves it. But have you heard of anything up there?
Well, right now we're seeing growth going north, especially the area of Orlando. But Orlando is kind of saturated with many properties for rent, apartments. I mean, you do it over the phone, basically.
Yeah.
It's very fast, and you need to have somebody there who goes and do the cleaning. But sometimes that goes into Airbnb, and so there comes additional taxes, additional stuff. It's not everything as nice as it looks like until you become the concierge. But then towards the areas of Daytona, Tampa, and all these, there's lots of developments. In fact, there's one big one, is tremendous, is high upscale for 55 plus, but the same guide of Margaritaville. And they are very expensive, and they're $400,000-$600,000 luxurious. No, this is not Tampa. I have the catalog over here. It's quite north, but as I tell you, the development goes. It's right now going north. Miami is fully saturated,
Yeah.
and it's people from Miami are moving towards Pembroke Pines and towards Plantation and north, and people from all. I mean, I'm in Plantation. My office is in Weston, and I have properties in Pompano Beach that I have for rent.
I love Pompano, and I love Deerfield Beach. I love Deerfield.
I love it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite areas. So
Right now, I have 32 listings for sale and for rent.
Okay.
So I'm like hopping all over.
great. So you're on Facebook, which is awesome. I'm on Facebook too. If you look up SoFlo Real Estate Investors, we're on there.
Okay.
If you want to follow me, you can actually put your information on there because this is going to be virtual now. I'm gonna obviously have to have some sort of virtual business card holder on the actual Facebook page. I'm actually gonna make a website very soon. I'm actually making it now as we speak. So hopefully there we can just drop our business cards, like virtual business cards in there, and then we can share each other's information. Because when we would meet at the locations where we used to meet at, people would just come in and just share experiences. And obviously, you have mortgage brokers, you had real estate agents, you actually had investors there. That one guy, I forgot his name, it was like Mark or something, came in. Like he said, like he did like what was that? Was that bigger dude's name, Rick? Remember him?
Oh, I have his information. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Very successful
Yeah.
investor.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
he surprised us. He came in, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy that that we all came together today and explained our experiences. I'm actually gonna go ahead and just stop the recording. We can keep talking, but I'm just gonna stop the recording. But again, I appreciate everyone who came today, and I appreciate everyone who gave their experiences. Judy, thank you again for your time. I really
My
appreciate it.
pleasure.
Like I've been telling everyone, you're extremely credible and you know your stuff, and you're a human calculator. So,
Thank you, I think.
well, real quick before you go, Rick, you said that there's a website that you look at for mortgages, or that you type in mortgages, right?
Well, what I use is a website called mortgagecalculator.org. And I was explaining to Eric that I love using that because it kind of, and I tested it with my current mortgage to make sure that the payments that I'm looking for are accurate. So it allows me to enter my home insurance amount, my taxes, if I have PMI, my interest rate, my loan amount, and stuff like that. And when I enter everything, it's been spitting out pretty well. When I use my home as an example, it spit out accurate numbers, and I've been using it when I'm running my what I'm thinking my home is worth and what my loan is going to be and my interest rate and so forth. So I've just been using that. It's just a little free tool that I've been using. So yeah.
Okay, good to know.
All right, perfect. Again, I'm just gonna go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you.